Below street level and across 51 miles, from the San Fernando Valley to Long Beach, sits the Los Angeles River. Often overlooked and ignored by the fast-paced city, the LA River embodies the fascinating interrelationship where the city meets wildlife. The LA River welcomes visitors to gain a new perspective of the city. It is becoming a site for recreational activities such as bicycling and kayaking. It has taken a long time and a lot of hard work from the surrounding community to transform this concrete channel into a place of exploration. The Tongva migrated west over 3,000 years ago and settled near the LA River and its surrounding areas. The Tongva were closely linked to the surrounding plants and animals. They utilized the LA River for hunting and gathering. However, the Europeans arrived in California in 1769, displacing many indigenous people who had previously inhabited the area. The European soldiers uprooted the Tongva and restricted their access to the river. The arrival of the Europeans was not the only time the LA River underwent change. From 1815 to 1938, Los Angeles experienced numerous devastating floods, prompting the Army Corps of Engineers to channelize the river to mitigate the effects of future flooding. The decision to build concrete barriers along the river's 51 miles was made to ensure the safety of the growing population. Still, it failed to protect the existing wildlife. It destroyed the habitats of many plants and animals, such as the steelhead trout and the tule plant, while also limiting people's access to the natural resources. The river's wildlife was on the verge of extinction, inspiring people to take action and help restore and preserve what remained.
Friends of the LA River, or FOLAR for short, is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 1986 by an activist and artist named Lewis McAdams, and since then we have been advocating for ecological restoration and public accessibility of the LA River, and we do this through our education programs, our policy work, our community events, and our thought leadership.
I'm standing at the confluence of the Los Angeles River and the Arroyo Seco. The significance of the meeting of these two rivers has been important to both indigenous peoples and is the reason why Los Angeles is where it is today.
At FOLAR, I am the education and programs manager. I run our education programs. We have an education program called Source to Sea Watershed Education, and I also manage our LA River Rover, which is a mobile museum all about the LA River. And we drive our vehicle to different schools, to different community events, and people walk through the rover and they get to learn about the past, present, and future of the river. For too long, the river was neglected, and it was not seen as a river. It was seen as merely a concrete channel. When FOLAR started a river movement in the 80s, people began to see the river in a whole different way and began to fight for its ecological restoration alongside with us. And now today there are so many people involved in this river movement. So many people are changing the way that we connect to the river and really advocating for a more positive change.
Pues aquí en esta parte del río es donde encuentras mucha
tierra y muchas plantas. Y es porque el cemento aquí nunca se pudo endurecer. Por eso encuentras mucha agua aquí, y porque hay agua hay muchas plantas. Y en otras partes del río hay mucho cemento.
Sí, como en mi casa hay mucho cemento en el río ahí. Por eso no he visto muchas plantas y animales ahí.
Sí, hay 3 lugares que se parecen así como el Glendale Narrows. Hay un lugar que se llama Sepulveda Basin, Glendale Narrows, y también en Long Beach, the Long Beach Estuary. For over 30 years, FOLAR has organized an annual LA River cleanup called the Great LA River Cleanup. And each year we invite all community members to come and help us remove trash from the river, which is one of the river's greatest challenges. And every year, thousands of people come out to help us, and they're very fun events because we invite sponsors, we have music, we have food, and you can really see a huge difference after these cleanups. The river looks healthier, it looks cleaner, and it's a really great way to connect people to the river and encourage them to make a difference. You can register to participate in our cleanup this year, which will take place in June and July, by signing up on our website, folar.org. That's FOLAR.org. And when you register to participate, we will send you a cleanup kit that has everything you need to come out and help clean the river.
There are 3 steps that a naturalist uses when we're starting to make our observations. This is like the foundation of what a naturalist does. 3 steps. And those 3 steps are, I notice, I wonder, and it reminds me of. So these are the 3 steps we're gonna use when we go on this nature walk by the LA River right now. And I think a real easy example, look at this tree right here. I noticed the tree. Okay, we noticed nature, but we want to notice a little deeper, right? Yes?
Well, there are these green beans here.
Yeah, yeah.
Beans that are
Yeah.
flat, though.
What else are we noticing? Yeah.
There are flowers on them.
Flowers, yeah. What about the flowers? Like what, can we describe the flowers a little bit?
They're kind of small.
They're small, yeah, yeah.
I thought maybe they weren't here before because it's spring now. And maybe spring.
Oh, right, so the flowers are new for spring. That maybe other times a year the flowers might not be there, okay? Good things we're noticing, yeah?
The flowers are purple and also the leaves are shaped like that.
Yeah, we took care of I notice. The second step is I wonder. So now we're gonna start asking questions about the things we noticed. I would maybe ask, like, I wonder why the flowers are that color. Yeah?
I wonder how long it has lived.
Oh, yeah. Like, how long has it been here? We're asking questions, right? We don't have to know the answers right away. We can look that up. But the way to get to the answer is to ask the question first. Does any part of this tree remind you of something else that you've seen in nature, maybe? Yeah.
Well, I feel like walnuts have kind of the same color of leaves, and then they're kind of low to the ground like this.
Okay, so it reminds you of maybe a walnut tree, okay? Everything in the natural world, the plants, wild animals, the animals that we have as pets in our homes, people, us, humans, we're all connected, we're all part of nature, right? And so many things are related to each other. We're all tied together in some way. We're gonna see the tule and the willow, and we can talk a little bit about how the Tongva used those, how it helped them. you all know about the tule
Yeah.
and how important that was for the Tongva here, for their homes, for tools like baskets, and it enabled them to be able to survive here, to thrive here, right? Indigenous people all over California use tule in the same way because it grows in rivers all around California, but they didn't want to use all of it. That's a very positive impact on nature. They're living with nature and they're living in harmony with it. The other side of that, what would be a negative impact of nature? If you took all the leaves, right? Yes?
There are no more. How would they?
Right, right. So we have a choice when we're interacting with nature. We can live in balance and have a sort of positive impact on it, or we can do the opposite and be harmful to nature. Some might say digging up and cementing over the river was harmful to nature in LA. But some parts of it are still alive, like this, right? So nature is able to still exist here. We can see two different examples of maybe being harmful to nature. The trash that you all pick up around here, that's a negative impact. Picking up the trash, though, is a positive impact. You can see the two sides. We have a choice every time we interact with nature.
When the concrete was poured into the river, a lot of the animals left. They had to find somewhere else to live. So now a lot of the animals found in the LA River are threatened or endangered. And these are terms that the government gives animals so that we know that they need to be protected before they go extinct. So the steelhead trout are a native fish to the LA River. That means that they exist naturally in the river, and they should exist naturally in the LA River. These steelhead trout are very unique because they need both fresh water and salt water. So they are born in the river and then they swim to the ocean and then they swim back to the river to lay their eggs. So as you can imagine, when they filled up the LA River with concrete, that created a lot of obstacles for these steelhead trout. And now the steelhead trout are no longer able to swim from the ocean to the river. Because of that, steelhead trout are no longer found in the Los Angeles River. The steelhead trout is what we consider an indicator species. That means that they indicate or tell us something about the health of an ecosystem. In order to be able to release them back into the LA River, we have to first fix the health of the river so that they'll be able to survive when we release them. You find that a lot of students in Los Angeles do not know that there is an LA River in our backyard. But then you show them a picture of the concrete channel and they're like, oh yeah, I have seen that before. I just didn't know that it was a river. Once you show students a picture of the animals that are found in the LA River and all of the life that is in there, students automatically care for it and want to take care of the river. So I think we need to keep doing that, keep educating students about the natural resources in their backyard. All right, hello guys. Did you guys have fun on your nature walk?
Yeah.
Yeah? Taking nature walks and observing nature is a really great thing to do. First of all, it's great because it can make us feel better, right? Wasn't it fun to walk around and see new animals?
Yeah.
Taking nature walks and observing nature is also great because it is a form of science, right? Does anybody remember what the first step of the scientific process is?
It's asking a question.
There's something before you ask a question. What do you have to do?
Observe?
Yes, the very first step in the scientific process is observation. So before a scientist goes out and creates an experiment, the very, very first thing that they have to do is observe, right? And that's what you all were doing. You were noticing something. And then what's the second step of the scientific process?
Asking a question.
Yes, asking a question. So scientists will go out and observe, and then they will ask a question. And after this question, they design their experiment, right? And they come up with a good enough question, something really interesting, that they want to design an experiment and find out the answer.
And then they have a hypothesis, right?
Yes, and a hypothesis is another step.
I was also wondering about like all of the stuff on the floor, all of that kind of like dried algae. I wonder like what it looked like before and what it is.
Yeah, that's a really good question. You might have noticed a lot of stuff about the water. Did you have any other questions about the water?
Well, it seemed like the water was really important because a lot of plants were thriving and some were even like on the water.
I was wondering for a while, like, how come there's so much trash in the water? But then I remembered from your guys' visit that it's because of the street and how the streets actually pollute the river, which leads to the ocean. And I remember that whole cycle.
Exactly. So the river is the main part of the LA River watershed, right? And a watershed is like a bathtub. So all of the water collects in one area, the watershed, and then every watershed has one drain, just like a bathtub has a drain. So any of the water that goes into the LA River will go into the ocean. And where is all that water coming from that goes into the LA River?
The streets when it rains, and then if there's trash on the streets, the rain will put it into the sewer, or if you dump it in the sewer.
Exactly, there's storm drains, which are kind of like gutters on the side of the road that we see everywhere around our city. And those are designed to empty directly into the LA River. So when it rains, not only does water go down those storm drains, but so does pollution. So does trash, like plastic, and also other types of pollution that we can't see. How clean is the water in the LA River? That's our question, right? So how would we go about finding that answer? What might we do?
We might collect some of the water in like test tubes. Like my brother sometimes likes to collect water from different rivers.
A scientist that wants to find out about the water quality of the LA River might use macroinvertebrates as their data. So I am going to give each of you one of these plastic containers, okay? And then we are going to carefully walk down to the river and we are going to scoop up water. And we are going to look for areas of algae because macroinvertebrates eat algae. So they'll probably want to be where they're eating. So you're going to scoop it up and look. And you're going to look for something floating around in the water. When you found one, come to me and I would tell you if you found one. And then you can come back up here. So there are different types of macroinvertebrates. There's sensitive and tolerant. So if you're sensitive, you can't live just anywhere, right? You have to live in a specific place and you need very healthy ecosystem in order to survive. What about tolerant? What does tolerant mean? You can withstand extreme conditions, right? Awesome, so based on what we all found, what do you guys think of the water?
I think it's pretty good.
Think it's okay? Was that fun?
It was.
And you can do this at home, right? You can find all of these materials at home. You would just have to do a little bit of research on Google, right? To find out what type of macro you found.
As we're bringing our day to a close, thanks to our friends of LA River, I just wanted to go ahead and take a second to just check in. I know some of you guys mentioned that you guys practice mindfulness all the time. I think that's amazing. I think we should all always just take a second to check in with ourselves and see how we're feeling, how everything's going. So that's actually what I want you guys to do today. Just take a second, maybe take a deep breath in. Hold, 2, 3, release. All right, yeah. We're just gonna wind down and we're gonna open up our journals, and I want you guys to just go ahead and write a quick reflection. Anything that you guys want, how today made you feel, anything that you guys want to write about today, just take a minute to journal about it. Remember, it's important that we do all we can to protect and preserve our river, since it is a part of our backyard. A huge part in preserving nature is making sure that plants and animals can grow and survive. Flowers and plants are beautiful to look at, but to help them thrive in the wild, we must leave them be. That means we must not remove plants from their natural environment. While on your nature walk, you found flowers and leaves on the ground. I want you to all keep a part of the river with you, so we will be doing a leaf imprinting and tracing activity. Let's see your leaves, guys. Awesome, those look so cool. Okay, I like how everyone's is just very different. The cool thing about being in natural environments is that we get to see things that we don't normally see, right? But unfortunately, we can't take any of that stuff with us, right? But if you guys want to take your leaves, you guys can actually put them underneath your pages here. And then what we're gonna do is we're just gonna use our pencils and we're gonna gently shade in over our leaves to kind of have like a little imprint. Beautiful, I love that, that looks so good. The fun thing about this activity is that you can always continue to do it whenever you are in nature.
I was so inspired by our Eco Sunday girls who really took the initiative. They saw a problem in their backyard and they took initiative and they started organizing all by themselves.
I had my blog before I started Eco Sundays, and I knew I kind of had a community to kind of share that I wanted to help the environment, and so I could get together with a couple of my other friends who were also passionate about the environment.
We did a big beach cleanup and our whole family went out to the beach and we met all these amazing people, and many of them told us about Friends of the LA River. She has this core group of friends and it's been a way for them, especially during the pandemic, to come together and be outside and have a sense of purpose.
One time during Eco Sundays, we had this big net that I found and I started pulling it up and it was like a big tarp. And so inside we found a catfish, a baby one. And we also found like a little trout, not a steelhead one, but just a normal trout. And then we released them into the LA River. We went to the LA River and took samples of the water, and then we found those bugs because it was really fascinating and I had never realized how much life was inside of the water. I really love science, and everyone at Eco Sundays does, and with science, helping the environment also relates to science in so many ways. Even if there's not many people helping the environment, at least there is people trying to help it. It's just so fun to help and to know that the ecosystem is in our hands, and it's just really fun.
We hope to carve out a path for the youth to go from education to activism. We teach them ways to get involved. We provide them with advocacy tools so that they could also get involved in river work.
Nature is a great place to not only practice science if you want, but to also have fun and enjoy spending time with your friends and family. Stay curious, keep going outside and discovering all the new things around you and in this beautiful city of Los Angeles.
Surrounded by the ever-changing city, the river will inevitably change as well. This time in a direction that can help restore the native wildlife that once existed. Through Fuller's efforts and the community support, the river will once again be viewed as a source of life.